is also one of the most picturesque. Quebec City, located 200 kilometers north of Montreal, is the capital of the province of Quebec and is said to retain its European influences more than any other city in the Americas. This bastion of old world charm is really two cities. The original, or upper city, boasting an enchanting display of cultural and artistic endeavor. The lower city, by far the most populous, encompasses the commercial and industrial activity. But perhaps the most notable attraction is the remaining section of wall that comprised the original fortress. Travel south to Montreal, the other great city of Quebec province, and you'll pass the Saint-Air International Drag Strip. Hello, I'm Paul Page, and welcome to the GrandNationals Sportsman. This is the only international stop in the NHRA drag racing series. And how important is it? Well, this top alcohol dragster belonging to Mike Troxel is towed here all the way from Denver, Colorado. To find out more about these alcohol-powered cars and to look ahead to what we have coming up today, let's go to my colleague, Steve Evans.
Paul, the quickest and the fastest cars we'll be seeing in our sportsman coverage from Saint-Air today are the supercharged alcohol funny cars. They even outperform the dragsters like Mike Troxel's because they're allowed to use the biggest engines in the sport. This is Frank Monzo's power plant in his Thunderbird car. It is 510 cubic inches and makes just about 2,000 horsepower. Now, Frank is a big favorite today because he's the #1 qualifier at 614, 227 miles per hour. Now, those are impressive numbers, but consider that the computer on board this car tells us that he is running 200 miles per hour at the 8th in just 4 seconds. Now that's acceleration. To fill us in on the third of the 4 categories we're covering today, here is 3-time Winston champion and our good friend, Big Daddy Don Garlits.
Steve, I'm with a couple of the cars that are very fine examples of the type of vehicles we'll be seeing in Super Comp today. This first one is a 23T Roadster owned by Wally and Lynn Roberts. It even has a canopy like I had on my fuel dragster. It's a nice little car, got a lot of high-tech stuff, funny car type frame, fuel tank up in the front, canard wings just like a fuel dragster. A family operation, highly competitive. And they race against cars like this rear-engine dragster. It looks just about like the car that I had when I first came out with a rear-engine car, only it doesn't have a supercharged engine in it. Not quite as expensive to operate, but these cars are highly competitive. These two cars would start from the line dead even, no handicap start, and they run on what we call an 890 index. Now what that means is they cannot run under 890 seconds. The very best possibility would be each to run 890 all the time. Well, they come real close to that. So the difference is made up by the driver and his reaction time. He has to leave perfect every time or he gets beat because there's always somebody that's going to run right at that 890. So the class has got lots of cars in it and it's highly competitive. So it's an exciting class to be in. And now Steve's with another class that you'll be seeing today. Steve?
That Super Comp class, Don, is really neat because you can do it so affordably. For probably under $10,000, you could have a really neat car and run it all season long in the same engine because you don't need a big, expensive racing engine. Most any good motor will run an 890, and that's all that's required of you. But if you move up to the 4th class, we'll be showing you today, Competition Eliminator, bring your wallet. These are very sophisticated race cars, a number of classes under one umbrella, and the equalizer is the index system and the handicap lights on the Christmas tree. We'll talk more about that later. Take a look at the Oldsmobile F-Gasser of David Nickens. This is a $35,000 handcrafted race car, a $25,000 engine. Very expensive racing, very competitive racing, and their paydays are quite a bit bigger than the Super Compers. Now, the top alcohol dragsters have already eliminated down to a final round, 2 cars. We'll be showing you that race a bit later on. But right now, it's time to make some smoke for the fans here at Saint-Air with top alcohol funny cars.
Well, Steve, on the line, and his top alcohol funny is Frank Manzo. Now, the top alcohol funny cars use the Pro Start. That's 0.4 of a second of yellow and then the green light. The engines can be up to 565 cubic inches. The largest engines in drag racing. The cars can weigh no less than 1,800 pounds. Manzo will face Arnie Karp in round 1 of top alcohol funny car.
These truly are two of the best alcohol funny cars based on the East Coast. Frank Manzo was the Winston champion in 1981 and 86. Arnie Karp, the Yellow Machine, has won a number of national events, particularly the Summer Nationals in Englishtown, New Jersey. Interesting, Paul, you said 564 cubic inches. That's right, that's the maximum. Manzo was only at 510 because the car has to weigh 4 pounds for every cubic inch in the engine. Some prefer a little smaller motor. Some feel build it to the maximum. You can more than overcome that weight.
Now, top alcohol funny cars started here at Saint-Pie, Canada, Saint Air Speedway, with an 8-car field. And there is, you can get some evidence of it in the blowing of the smoke from the burnouts, a bit of a headwind. What will they do to compensate that, Steve?
I don't think there's an awful lot you can do to compensate for it, Paul. They're already making as much power as they can with these engines. These are as methanol fuel in the tank. You can't add anything to that. They're already running the blower as hard as they can because the traction is very, very good here. So all it'll probably do is just slow them down a tick of the clock.
Frank Manzo comes into this event as the #1 qualifier with a 6:17, and so he has lane choice, and as you can see, has chosen the far lane. He will face in the near lane Arnie Karp from Peabody, Massachusetts in his 88 Forenza, the #5 qualifier. Manzo is a 3-time winner here and will be driving his 88 Thunderbird.
Now, Manzo races Karp. That's 1 versus 5 in the qualifying order, and that's how they pair them up. 1, 5, 2, 6, 3, 7, and 4, 8. So the two quickest cars, as far as qualifying are concerned, cannot meet until the final round. You can see very sparse instrumentation on these cars. They're far too busy in the 6 seconds they have to be looking at any instruments whatsoever. They'll check the oil pressure gauge just before they leave the starting line, because that is one gauge that can show you some imminent danger if it's low.
And Steve, they'll approach the starting line a little bit different, won't they? They'll bring it up to full revs well before the lights.
That's right. These have 3-speed transmissions, a lot of torque multiplication. They leave the starting line very hard. It really pushes the driver back in the seat. And you're right, they do use an awful lot of RPM. They're pre-staged. The top yellow lights are on. Karp moves in, followed by Manzo. There's that Pro Start, and Manzo launches hard. They reacted at the same time, but you can see the launch of Manzo was far superior, and he wins it at 620, 223 miles per hour to a losing 644, 217.
Well, Karp reacted faster, but by a mere 100th of a second. And watch Manzo over in the far lane, because when he drops the clutch, he really powers out of the box.
The launch of these cars is so important to their overall performance that often when they're testing them, they'll only set up plots at 60 feet. That tells them just about everything they want to know. Well, here in the yellow car, Arnie Karp unfortunately already knew that he was probably going to lose this drag race. Frank Manzo takes this victory in round 1.
620, Frank.
Well, we're very happy with that. It's a pretty big headwind out here today. And I was a little concerned with the track, with so many oil downs, previous oil downs. But we're very happy. I think we can run 2 more and possibly win the race.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So Frank Manzo, the 36-year-old construction owner, moves ahead. And we'll be back with more from Saint-Pie, Quebec, Canada, right after this.
Brought to you by Dodge Truck.
It's been so important to the province of Quebec, both past and present. In the old days, the Chaudière River we're looking at was an important source of transportation for the French colonists. Now, well, there's an awful lot of film burned up by tourists. It really rivals the Niagara Falls in many respects. Tremendous power. And it's power we bring you today from Saint Air International Drag Strip in Saint-Pie, Quebec. I'm Steve Evans along with Paul Page and Don Garlits. And Paul, it's time for race number 2 and round number 1 of Top Alcohol Funny Cars.
And we are looking at the first top alcohol funny car driver over 230 miles an hour. This is Bob Newberry in his 1988 Oldsmobile.
And Newberry performs the ritual burnout. Well, actually, it's more than a ritual. It gets those 17-inch wide tires hot. It also puts some hot, sticky rubber down on the racetrack. You're literally building your own racetrack. And in the far lane, bouncing to a stop on those tires that only carry 6 pounds of air pressure, is Newberry's opponent, Craig Gleason, in his 87 Trans Am. Now, once you've laid down those tracks, it's so important that the crew back you up in exactly the right position. Craig Gleason is from Union, Maine, driving an 87 Trans Am. He qualified in the 7th position. Bob Newberry is the official NHRA national record holder for speed in the class. He qualified number 3. And here we see that all-important crew person backing up Gleason. They use a variety of hand signals. They're going to just try to put it right on those tracks, Paul.
Of course, that's very important to make sure that the wheels are sitting exactly where they want them, that tire patch is on the best possible point of ground so that they can get a good launch. And we can see there, Steve, that concrete launching pad, which exists at all NHRA tracks. 2 different surfaces actually on the drag strip. They start on this concrete pad, though it's mostly ground in black there from the passage of tires over it, and then just a few feet down the course it transitions into asphalt for the remainder of the quarter mile.
That's right. The tires can't tell the difference because it's rubber on both surfaces. You hear the RPMs come up, and there is the green light. It's a good start by both drivers. Newberry taking control, some handling problems for Gleason. He may have got off the throttle a bit. Delighted crew for Newberry as he defeats Gleason here in round number 1 at 6:24 to a losing 8:65 when Gleason threw in the towel.
In the meantime, back up at the starting line, action continues. Round number 1, top alcohol funny car, as we take a look at the machine of Ed Parker. He's ready to face John Samolak.
Look at the headlights on that car. Do you recognize him? This is kind of a caricature of a Dodge Daytona, if you will. They chop and they channel and they do a lot of things, but they try to keep some of the characteristics of a Detroit automobile. There you can see the Dodge Daytona look-alike rear-end machine as well.
As Parker does his burnout. Now, these are 3-speed machines. They do their burnout in high gear, and while that may be fiberglass as the cover, what's underneath is thoroughbred race car. Let's go to the far end.
What do you think there? 6:24.
Well, I'm a lot more pleased with that 24 over my qualifying runs. I run a 32 and then shook real hard yesterday with a 36. And I was pretty pleased with that because I made a big move in the bow housing, changed the clutch around quite a lot. The car ran pretty decent speed, too. I think it ran 223. So I got Manzo next round, and Frankie run a 20 flat. And Frankie's tough, but we're right there knocking on the door, so it should be a pretty good race.
Looking forward to it. Longtime drag racing fans will remember the name John Samolak. He was just a terror among the alcohol dragsters, but when the competition got a little too tough for those small motors, he moved over to the funny cars. Ed Parker, we're watching his Daytona backup right now. The number 8 qualifier just did get into the program. He's from Maine and gives away quite a bit in experience to this man, John Samolak, who has experienced the thrill of winning NHRA national events in the past.
Well, they call him Smoky John Samolak. He's 40 years old from Linden, New Jersey. He won the Summer Nationals in 1987, and this is a car that he bought from Frank Manzo.
Well, the racers will tell you, be careful selling those old used cars. They can come back to haunt you. So Samolak in the near lane. There is Ed Parker staging that Daytona over in the far lane. As always, they move up very carefully. There's only inches to work with there, and if you overstage, you could accidentally red light or foul start even though you really didn't intend to. Every driver has a hold of the brake as hard as they can. It's a handbrake in these cars. Parker moves in. Samolak is in, and the race is underway. In the near lane, trailing a little bit of smoke, is John Samolak, and he wins by less than a car length. An excellent drag race. 6:52 at 204 miles per hour to the winner, and a 6:63 at 213 miles an hour for the loser. But watch Parker over there. He had a great hole shot. He had the advantage off the starting line. So that race was really closer than the numbers might indicate had they left together, Paul.
Yeah, but Steve, there may be an indication of problems at the far end. As we take a look here, watch the car in the near lane. That's Samolak. And just as he gets to the line, you see a puff of blue smoke. In an alcohol car, that could mean real trouble. Let's go to Don Garlits.
6:52. We got a little oil coming out of it there, John.
Put the rods out. It's dead. Who's going to be our spare motor after this weekend? It was running good. It was running, low 30s in it. Guess the crank just didn't take it.
Gonna fix it?
No, we got nothing to fix it. The spare motor's sitting home, set all up for the Summer Nationals. So I have to go back home now and finish putting it together and get it in for next weekend. We got a match race for Ford down in Maple Grove. So we're done for today. That's it. Yeah, next year. That's all. Rods are out.
The last pair in round number 1 will be Peter Gallen and Herb Rogers. One of those two men, the winner of round 1, will face a bye run because Smoky John is out. We'll be back with more from Sanair Speedway in a moment.
We're back at the GrandNationals Sportsman at Sanair International Drag Strip in Saint-Pie, Quebec. I'm Steve Evans, along with Paul Page and Don Garlits, and we continue with action in the fastest category of our coverage today, top alcohol funny cars. There you see the electric starter being removed from that top pulley on the floor. That's how they get these engines started. They squirt a little gasoline in that bug catcher-looking fuel injector, and until the pumps start to work, that gets the motor running.
You know, Steve, you just did it, and everybody here seems to do it, and that is pick up the French, because we're in Quebec, which is a French province of Canada, and there is the mixture of both French and English spoken here. And so you have a tendency just naturally to say Saint-Pie when we actually maybe ought to say Saint-Pie.
Oui, I agree with you all the way. All right, there is Peter Gallen, the defending GrandNationals champion, and his opponent over in the near lane is Herb Rogers. And look at the abuse those tires and the whole car takes on the burnout.
Well, Peter Gallen went from this event last year where he won to win also at the Keystone Nationals. So this track started what hopefully is a streak for him that extends into this year as he backs up and gets ready to place his machine on the line. Peter Gallen is 31 years old from Newton, Pennsylvania. In his 88 olds, he's the #2 qualifier.
And you know there's some fans riding with his opponent, Herb Rogers. He's the only Canadian in the top alcohol funny car field, London, Ontario, Canada, and he may not race. Look at the crew running down there, Paul. The car has got some problems. I can't tell from here if the engine is running or not. I don't believe it is.
No, it sounds like it's shut off. They've shut this machine down now. NHRA and the crew try to get this car back out. That means that Gallen will have a bye run, but still a very important run because his ET will help determine his lane choice for future rounds. So as they push this car off, Gallen has to be sitting there hoping that too much heat doesn't build up in his engine before they can get that car off and affect his performance.
This is really an odd set of circumstances, though. John Samolak already told Don Garlits at the far end that his engine is broken, that he will not make it back to the second round. So that means Peter Gallen has a bye run here due to the broken opponent. He will have a bye run coming up. He really doesn't need to go all out for lane choice. But, Paul, I think he will. He's a #2 qualifier. He wants to make sure he still has the combination, that the track hasn't changed, that the weather hasn't affected his performance at all. Well, let's watch and see what he elects to do. He can roll out there 5 feet and shut it off and go to the finish line if he wants to do that.
Yeah, but most real racers will run just as hard as they can. In fact, they don't want to come off of their normal pacing because that's when things get dangerous. If you say, well, I'm only going to do it halfway, you may not pay full attention and then you may have problems.
That's right. Here is Peter Gallen. He is going for it. Peter Gallen down the far lane, waltzes into the semifinal round at a 6.27. And seldom does a driver in this position know that he's automatically through the next round and into the finals, as it were.
But still an excellent run. That 6.27 matched his qualifying of 6.27. So Gallen is really running strong and hard. While Rogers' crew pushes his car off the track, he'll have to wait for yet another day. So the pairings for the semifinals. Peter Gallen over John Samolik. We know that Samolik will not appear. Gallen will have that other bye run. Bob Newberry will have to face Frank Manzo, and Manzo will have the lane choice. Let's go to Don.
6.27, Pete.
Thank you. It's a shame for Herbie, but we skipped the dry leave that time, and it helped us on the bottom end of the track, I believe. So we're pretty happy with it. Could you tell me my speed?
I didn't hear your speed, but I do know 222. You're in the final because your competition is not coming back. They kicked the rods out.
Oh, Smokey can't make it? Well, I'm glad we're in the final. We were here last year, but we're going to have to earn that one. Thank you very much.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Big Daddy interviews him anywhere he can. Now listen very carefully. The public address announcer is now speaking in French. This is a bilingual province with French being predominant. Steve has a report.
French is the language of the province of Quebec, but traditionally, sporting events have been announced over the public address system in both English and French as a courtesy to non-French-speaking Canadians and, of course, English-speaking visitors. And usually that takes 2 announcers, 1 English, 1 French. Well, not here at Sanair, not since they found Bob Aubertine. Let's take a listen to this.
Chevrolet Power. Brian Little from Oakville, Ontario, Canada. La Ford 1923, moteur Chevrolet de Oakville, Ontario. Brian Little, âgé de 42 ans. Son adversaire, Val DeGenova, âgé de 41 ans. de Derry, New Hampshire, gagnant en 1987 du Grand National Molson. Hi, Steve.
That is incredible, Bob. Which is your native tongue?
French. It really is.
Is it easier for you in French than English, or are you equal at both?
I would say that I feel comfortable in both after so many years.
Give me a translation in French of burnout.
Burnout, le réchauffement.
Okay, funny car.
You got me. Funny car.
There's no literal translation?
No, it would be stretching the imagination all that much. And, you know, and there's some of this stuff that we have to stick with the anglicized terminology.
My compatriot on the announce team, Big Daddy Don Garlits.
Le gros papa, no. No, again, these are particular to the sport. Sure. There are things, you know, like mechanical terminology that we will be able to translate. And I, over the years, have been able to come and develop some sort of standards along with my colleagues who do bilingual announcing in this province.
Well, you do a great job. Thanks a lot.
I thank you very much, and welcome to Le Grand National Molson.
Bob Albertine, amazing man.
And impressive for guys like Steve and Big Daddy and I who have trouble just getting through in English. We move now to comp. This is Dave Nickens. He is ready to face Joe Fica. Now, here we will see a handicap start. Now, the handicaps are judged from performance over previous meets. The engine size up to 441 cubic inch displacement. We'll see all variety of cars in this category.
This is the car we had a look at earlier, and we talked about how expensive that machine is. But he will get the head start of the dragster. The dragster being lighter is an economy dragster. Economy dragster means they have to run an automatic transmission with a full torque converter and one 4-barrel carburetor. Here's how it works. Nickens is an F gas class car on a 940 index. Fica, Joe Fica, his economy dragster on a 760. Net result, 1.8 second advantage will go to Nickens off the starting line, and then that is dialed electronically into the Christmas tree. So this man, Joe Fica, he's the one that has to display some patience, and that's hard to do. When you see that other car leave the starting line, he's just gobbling up the quarter mile. But you have to, because if you leave too soon, you're going to red light, foul start, and be disqualified. But the equalizer is Fica gives Nickens the first chance to red light. If that happens, he can just idle down the racetrack. It's over. So Nickens in the near lane wants to cut a good light, but he doesn't want to push it too hard. He's staged and ready. The dragster moves in. Fica. Remember, it's Fica who has to wait. There you see what 1.8 seconds looks like in the Christmas tree. Nickens away clean, and here goes Fica, the old tortoise in the hare, Paul. Boy, that wait at the starting line had to be an eternity for Fica, and Nickens absolutely blasts the index with an 889 at 152 miles an hour. Well, Nickens is the top F-gasser in the country. He runs well under that index. But if you lower the index, it affects every other F-gasser. They're no longer competitive. So that index is what the average good quality car should run. And speaking of high quality cars, here we go with the next race in competition eliminator.
This is Tom Martino in his 86 IROC Camaro on the near side. He will be facing George Supinski in his 88 Beretta. But first, let's go down to the far end now. Don is with Dave Nickens.
882, Dave.
Well, I'll tell you, that's a pretty good run for us. That's probably our best run of the weekend, and the conditions today are perfect. The traction's perfect for us, and half the battle's over with. Now we got to win the war.
Up at the starting line, Martino and Supinski. Martino in the near lane, staging. We take a look at the indexes. And with this situation, Martino will be handicapped 0.4 of a second.
And still, how you react to the light is important. Even though we don't see him side by side, where visually we can see the difference. The reaction timer definitely will tell us which driver had the better start. Okay, Supinski is away. Oh, and Martino way off the light. Supinski has 0.07 of a second already in the bank. He was that much quicker in reaction times, and boy, did it pay off for him. He might not have won that without that good start. An 8.55 at 157 miles an hour for Supinski, and 8.17 at 163 miles an hour for Tom Martino, but he just couldn't catch him.
Now watch Martino in the near lane. Here the green light is on, and he just sits there and waits. And with the slow motion, it was a long wait, but that's also the way that you see it if you're sitting in the cockpit.
Well, Martino certainly was gathering in Supinski, but with the 700s he gave away at the starting line, he just ran out of racetrack. So George Supinski will go to the semifinals. Don Garlits is at the other end to talk with him.
Good show, George.
Yes, thanks. We needed that one, that's for sure. This All-American Chevrolet, we got to, try to help our sponsor, and that's what we're trying to do.
Is it running good?
We're running, you know, pretty good. David's pretty fast, but we're going to keep, you know, trying.
Some of the guys are complaining about the little bit of wind. Did it bother you any?
Yeah, a little bit of shake when you let out of the gas, but, you know, that's normal. Yeah.
Oh, you're doing a good job driving it, George.
Thank you. Thank you, Don.
We'll continue with comp, a fascinating category because of the staggered start.
Installed in the original fortress in Quebec by the French colonists in the late 1700s to protect the port of Quebec. That was their top priority, protect their waterways at all costs. Well, our top priority today is just a little bit different. We're enjoying competition eliminator at the GrandNationals Sportsman on Saint-Air International Drag Strip in Saint-Pie, Quebec. I'm Steve Evans with Paul Page and Don Garlits. And what a contrast here, Paul. The beautiful street roadster of Vinnie Barone versus an Opel GT.
Well, Barone is in this magnificently executed 27 Ford Model T, but it's powered by a Nickens and Brown 373 cubic inch Chevrolet. Now, we take a look once again at the index. He will face Joey Heffernan with an 890 index, Barone with an 865. So Barone will be handicapped by 1/4 of a second.
And the big reason for that is he has an engine almost 100 cubic inches bigger than the 284 cubic inch Buick V8 of the little Opel GT over in the far lane. Vinnie Barone, who won the Southern Nationals at Atlanta Dragway earlier this year, an NHRA championship racer in the sportsman categories for just about a decade, even more than that. Now there's the car that will leave first. That is Joey Heffernan. Joey staging very carefully. Remember, he has that first chance to red light, so he's going to be very careful. A good light by both drivers. No advantage here as far as reaction time. Here comes Barone. Can he get around? Can he do it? No, he cannot. Joey Heffernan holds him off in the Opel GT at 840 for the winner to an 821 for the loser.
So 1/4 of a second difference in the tree. We look back at the starting line, look at the tree, you see the difference. As first it is Heffernan, then Barone rolling. Barone makes up the time very quickly, but then at about the halfway point, the speeds tend to even out. Heffernan goes on to the win.
Well, you know, Vinnie Barone in the near lane is trying to push that accelerator pedal right through the floorboards, but that's all he can get out of it. He comes up 3/4 of a car length short.
Heffernan comes from Havertown, Pennsylvania. Now, so does this car, driven by Bob Kaiser. Kaiser and Heffernan are teammates. Their families are fully involved in drag racing, and both of those cars are worked on in the same shop in Pennsylvania.
Well, the big difference here is cubic inches again. That is a monster big block Chevrolet engine in the pretty little blue Roadster. Now, his opponent has a V6, much smaller cubic inches. That is Bob Kaiser. The D economy class is reserved for 6 cylinders. There you see the math, 1.15 second handicap. It'll be Zupka who has to wait. It'll be Kaiser the choice to take full advantage of the time that he's given here.
So the car closest to us, Kaiser, will leave first. Already the tree rolled for him. A long, long wait. Zupka is on his way now in the little Roadster. Can he make up the distance? Power comes up, rev comes up. No, Zupka can't get the job done. It's Kaiser with a 903, 149 miles an hour. Kaiser holds the lead all the way down the drag strip. So now we're completed in round number 3 of competition eliminator. We look at the pairings now for the semifinals. Kaiser will face Nickens. Nickens will have lane choice because he ran the furthest under the index. And Heffernan will face Zupinski. Heffernan will have the lane choice. Now let's go to Steve, who always can find something unusual.
Of all the racetracks I have visited, I've only found 2 where the track owner lived on the premises. Out in California at Sacramento Raceway, Dave Smith has built a beautiful but conventional ranch-style house. And here at Saint-Air, where the major domo Jacques Curtin has built a, well, I don't know. It's anything but conventional, and that cylindrical structure is not a converted corn silo. It was designed and built to be exactly what it is, where Jacques lives. There's 8 floors of living area and a sun deck, observation deck on the very top. And each floor is different. A kitchen on one floor, then a den and a family room and a bedroom and another bedroom, and there's no elevator, which I guess accounts for the good shape Jacques is in, running up and down the circular staircase. And as you might imagine, that structure attracts a lot of the curious, so Jacques has installed a foolproof security system. Roaming that tower is a full-grown female mountain lion. She's been declawed, but not defamed.
Defanged. Boy, Steve picks up French so quickly. All right, we continue now with action. This is in Super Comp. Two dragsters come to the line, Bill Reuter and Joe Jackson.
This is the category Don Garlits was talking about at the top of the show, where driver means everything, because the class has a performance limit of that 890. There's no handicaps involved. You can't run quicker than 890. So to play this game the smartest possible way, you cut the best light you can, hopefully better than the other driver, because you only want to win by whatever you absolutely need, right?
So the whole trick is to be as good as you possibly can at the starting line. In Super Comp, first, an 890 index. You can't go any quicker. No breakout allowed, unless both of you break out. And then the one who breaks out the least is the winner. A heads-up prototype start, 4/10 of a second of yellow light, and then the green. And third, the minimum weight of the machine with driver, 1,350 pounds.
And this appeals to competitors, Paul, because it's affordable and you can build what you want as long as the car is safe according to the rules. You like Ford engines, build a Ford. You like a Hemi, put a Hemi in it, whatever. Just don't run quicker than 890. That's all you got to remember.
Joe Jackson in the near lane. In the far lane, Bill Reuter, both looking not to break out. 890 as quick as they can go. And it's Jackson with an 894, 139.
And Jackson had by far the better reaction time. He had almost 3/100ths of a second in the bank. Let's see if we can pick up on that right here. And I really mean that, in the bank. That means that Reuter now has to push much harder and takes a very serious chance of breaking out. And of course, if that happens, he's loaded up and gone.
So Joe Jackson, here we pick him up about the 1/8 of the mile mark. Both cars trying to pace themselves to the end of the line and yet come home the winner. Joe Jackson wins. Let's go down to the far end and Don.
Great pass.
Hi, Don. How you doing? Hey, I'll tell you what. We haven't been getting them with reaction times, but down here's where it's been counting.
Driving around, huh?
Yeah, they've been playing with me in high gear, and I just letting them do whatever they want to do and run my own race. Just
keep up the good work.
That's all I can count. I just want this win slip. Just want these win slips. Keep on going.
So Joe Jackson wins that one with his hole shot. In the meantime, back in Frank Manzo's pit area, they continue to work on his top alcohol funny car in preparation for his semifinal matching against Newberry. We'll be right back.
NHRA Super Comp category here at GrandNationals Sportsman. Now, here is a dragster over in the far lane. That is Paul Donahue. The dragster is the most popular car in Super Comp because of consistency. Long wheelbase, you use an automatic transmission. They'll go out and repeat run after run. And the small block Chevrolet is really the engine of choice for most of those dragsters. There's so many parts and pieces available at very affordable prices. But others prefer to do things a bit differently. And here is almost a competition eliminator style car like we saw at David Nickens. A full-bodied machine. It is not going to be as consistent. It has a shorter wheelbase and a lot more variables. But that's what the man wants. That's what he's got.
So in the near lane, Derry, New Hampshire's Val DiGenova, Super Comp. Now we're talking about why this is such an interesting class. Another one of the reasons is that you can literally run almost anything you want to bring, and you can run it on almost any fuel you can imagine. So if you like to experiment with the machines, you like to play, Super Comp is the place to be.
Absolutely. Just learn how to cut a real good light and know when to get off the gas. As Joe Jackson said, talking to Don Garlits, they're playing with me on the other end. He meant they're on and off the throttle, trying to time that 890. The one thing they all do is try to launch as hard as possible. If you play any throttle games, it's at the other end. And as always in Super Comp, they're racing very close. But it looks like, yes, in the far lane, Paul Donahue with the dragster has pulled it out. His elapsed time is 890. Perfect. 144 miles an hour. DiGenova, an 889, which means the advantage off the starting line had to have gone to Donahue. In fact, you could clearly see it right there in the replay. Now, had DiGenova gotten to the finish line first, he didn't, but had he with that 889, he'd have been a loser anyway. A perfect example of what we were talking about earlier. In the Donahue and the far lane got the starting line advantage. It forced DiGenova to run that car harder than he really wanted to. Not only did he not get to the finish line first, he broke out as well. Don?
890 with a 4, almost perfect.
Fantastic. Really great. I can't believe it. This is unreal. Real good friend of mine. I've been with him probably 10 years racing, and it's back and forth. I got him. Sorry, Val.
Got any other tricks for him?
Yeah, build a dragster. That's the best way to go. Have a dragster. Those door cars, you know that. Thank you very much.
Well, the dragster works for Paul Donahue. We continue with the fight in round number 3 of Super Comp. Back up at the starting line in the near lane is 22-year-old Harry Dixon, and he will face 29-year-old Dwayne Beers from Highland Park, New Jersey.
Well, here's a couple who agree with Mr. Donahue. They have built dragsters. A lot of these cars get passed around from team to team. And, you know, as far as the engine is concerned, well, you can have any internal combustion automotive type engine you'd like to build. And there's some other things you can also do with them. You can supercharge them, but you'd only do that if you had a little small engine, because 890 is as quick as you can go, and you can only supercharge it if you use gasoline or diesel fuel. Most of these cars are non-supercharged and on gasoline, about 90% of them.
So over in the far lane, Dwayne Beers, a garage owner, as he faces Harry Dixon sitting in the near lane. One of the nice things about these little cars, Steve, is you don't need a push truck and a lot of crew and everything. You've got radiators. You can actually drive them around the pit area.
Yes, you can. Dixon in the near lane gets the advantage by 2/100ths of a second off the mark. Here comes Beer side by side. It is Dixon in the near lane at 8.905. There's a thousandth of a second digit. But even more disappointing to Beers will be the fact that he ran the perfect number, 8.900.
Which shows how very important it is to read the Christmas tree perfectly and to make as perfect a leave as you can. If you're going to win here, then you really have to know how to leave the line. We watch now as they come to the end of the drag strip. Again, a little throttle game here because you want to arrive dead on. That's what Beers did, but because he was late on the leave, it didn't matter. Dixon wins. So here are the pairings. Joe Jackson will face Paul Donahue. Donahue will have the lane choice in the Super Comp semifinal. And Harry Dixon will have a bye run. There were an uneven number of cars entered here, so Dixon gets a bye in the semifinal.
890 with a 5.
All right.
And your competitor ran 890 with a 0. You must have had a good reaction time.
I knew I got out on him a little bit, but I didn't think I went a 90. I hit the brakes a little bit.
That's what counts, getting off that line.
Thank you.
So round number 3 of Super Comp is now complete. Coming up next, Top Alcohol Dragster.
Stay with us from the province of Quebec.
The giant St. Lawrence River as it flows past Quebec City. An avenue of commerce, and now with the addition of the St. Lawrence Seaway, a connection between the Great Lakes and the Atlantic Ocean. A tugboat moves leisurely, but not so peaceful is the travel at Saint-Pie, Canada at Sanair Speedway as we're ready for the final round in Top Alcohol Dragster.
And this is truly a battle between East and West. In the 4 lane, the blue and white car, that is Jeff Rapp. He's one of the very best of the alcohol racers on a divisional level. Has won several crowns in the Northeast Division. Has not yet put together his first national event. He's 33 and owns a trucking company in New Jersey. His opponent, on the other hand, is really a full-time pro in a sportsman category. I talked to Mike Troxel earlier. The action we're seeing today here at Sanair is officially called NHRA Sportsman Racing because the vast majority of these competitors have businesses or jobs and they race for the fun of it or as an avocation. But not Mike Troxel, the driver of this Red Bullet, one of the finalists in the Top Alcohol Dragster ranks. And you're trying to make a living at this for a while anyway.
Well, I've sold a business that I had, and you might say it's a little bit of a midlife crisis that I'm trying to do the very best I can with it, and we'll just see what happens.
You have to win a lot if you're going to make this work for the family.
Well, you have to make every race count, and you have to be very selective about where you go, when you go, and you have to stay on top of your tune-up.
We're glad you were here. Thank you, and good luck.
Thank you, Steve.
Well, Mike Troxel has found some success. He won the U.S. Nationals in '87, and in '88 he won at the Cajun Nationals and started the '88 season with a win at the Winter Nationals.
And he has been all-powerful here. He was the #1 qualifier and has been the low ET of the 2 previous rounds. Jeff Rapp, look at the horsepower as it rocks on those tires as he brings the RPMs up. Rapp in the far lane, Troxel in the near lane, and it is Rapp away first. Jeff Rapp, magnificent driving. He's ahead of Troxel. Oh, but not at the finish line. Mike Troxel comes around Rapp. What a squeaker. 6.30. His best ET of the day has been a 6.29. 214 miles an hour. That was quite a race, Paul Page.
Sure was, Steve. Take a look at the starting line. The car in the far lane, that is Rapp. He gets away first. So now it is Troxel's job to drive him down, which is exactly what he does. We pick up at the 1/8 of a mile mark, and you can see that Troxel in his home-built car is just powering away. Don?
You ran 6:30 and you won it. What about that?
Well, consistency. That normally does it. We've been real fortunate.
That helping that midlife crisis we're talking about?
Maybe a little bit. Maybe a little.
That's great. Well, you look good, and you didn't have any trouble all day, did you?
No, we've had a real smooth weekend, and as you well know, it doesn't always go that way, so we're happy that we had a smooth one.
Well, sometimes a little lady luck helps, but it's been a good day, good weather, and we're proud of it.
Thank you, Don. I appreciate it.
So Mike Troxel picks up the win in Top Alcohol Dragster. Now let's move to the semifinal round of Top Alcohol Funny Car. Frank Manzo faces Bob Newberry.
A couple of years ago, Bob Newberry walked away from a horrendous fire and crashed at Englishtown, New Jersey. Some thought he might not race again, but as you can see, he's still very competitive.
On the other hand, Frank Manzo's Sanair has been very good to him. He won here in 1981, 82, 1986. 4 times he's been the NHRA Northeast Division champion. On the other hand, Newberry was the '85 winner here, and in 1979 he was the Winston champion in competition eliminator, now in a Top Alcohol Funny Car.
One thing we know for sure, just looking at the record book, Newberry has the big top-end torque. He's the fastest alcohol funny car in the world. Talking about speed, and it's ET that wins drag races, and away they go. Monzo in the near lane. Monzo is ahead. Monzo's got it, but just about a car length over Newberry. A 6:15. He'll be happy with that. 225 miles per hour to a 6:24 at 225 miles per hour. Monzo will go to the final round.
Well, Newberry gets away with just a slight advantage, and then it's a fairly even run all the way to the finish line. In fact, as they come to the finish line, Monzo wins it, but they both go through the traps at identical 225-mile-an-hour times. Don?
Nice job, Frank. 6:15.
Thank you very much. Very happy with the ET. Come back to our qualifying, and track seems to be pretty good. And, well, we're going to see what we can do in the final.
Great. Thank you.
Well, the decision for who Frank Manzo will face in the final round has already been made. You'll remember that John Samolek broke his engine and indicated he had no spare at all and would not make it into the semifinals. So now Peter Gallen is on the line in the far lane, and he's still going to run as hard and fast as he can because he would love to come away from this run with lane choice.
Well, that's going to be a tough thing to do when you figure that Ace Manzo just laid down at 6:15. Gallen doing a little lane research here. If he doesn't get lane choice, he figures that is where Frank is going to put him because Frank has been favoring the near lane. The timers are rolling, and they stop at a 6:29, way short of lane choice.
So Gallen's by run at a 6:29, not nearly fast enough to top Manzo's 6:15. They will face one another in the final round. It will be Peter Gallen against Frank Manzo. Manzo will have his choice of lanes. We'll be back with more from Le GrandNationals Sportsman in Quebec, Canada.
Canadian race fans are just savoring every moment. Their once-a-year opportunity to see the best drag racing has to offer. And all on a beautiful day. Don Garlits is at the far end with Peter Gallen.
6:29, Pete.
Well, they gave us a free one, so we thought we'd try something, and as by the ET, it didn't work, so we'll have to go the other way.
Well, that gives Manzo lane choice. Will you make any different changes for this next one now?
Well, yeah, we figured whoever we had to run was going to be a real tough customer, so we tried to make a change. And lane, Frank will probably put us in the left, and that's the one we ran actually the last 3 rounds. So we don't mind being in the left. We just have to step it up.
It's got to make a little more power.
A lot more power to beat Frankie. He's hauling.
And it looks like Peter Gallen knows how to accept that challenge. In the meantime, back at the starting line, the semifinal round in competition eliminator, as Bob Kaiser is ready to face Dave Nickens.
Now, the enthusiasts out there will tell by the sound of this car, when he does the burnout, that is a 6-cylinder automobile, the deep economy altered to Kaiser. Listen to it. And you just heard in the background Nickens before him. So 2 cylinders do indeed make a big difference when it comes to the tone of that exhaust. Bob Kaiser qualified in the #1 spot. He should be the man to beat. He's from Havertown, Pennsylvania. He's been drag racing almost as long as there's been a drag racing sport. David Nickens hauled that Forenza all the way from the state of Texas. He qualified #3, but has run quicker in eliminations than he did during qualifying. And here you see the story. The economy altered at 950 and 940 for the F-gasser of Nickens. By now, you've figured out that David Nickens is going to be handicapped 1/10 of a second. He'll have to sit there for a 10th. The lights are 5/10 between them, 3 ambers to green. Here you see the tree. The red light is on in Kaiser's lane. Nickens is away. Kaiser shuts it off. Apparently, Kaiser must have overstaged just a little bit. Went too far forward in the staging process, and he red-lighted. So David Nickens goes to the finals with an 889 at 152 miles per hour. We've seen that happen many, many times over the years. It's called overstaging, where you'd get just a little too far forward. And Kaiser apparently had not accepting the explanation from starter Buster Couch, but Buster saying, hey, you know, the light doesn't lie. Somehow it made contact as if that wheel wasn't there. So you'll see the light right here, really before the race gets underway, blink on in the near lane for Kaiser, and that spells his demise.
But Bob Kaiser is not too pleased with that situation. A man very pleased is Dave Nickens, who now moves into the final round in competition eliminator. Don?
Dave, did you see the red light?
Well, no, I didn't. When I left the starting line, I was concentrating a little bit on my light, and that's the first time I'd been in a left-hand lane. I was a little uncomfortable over there, but when I looked up after I left, I seen him red light. I sure did. I tell you, it's been a good weekend for us. Our car has been flawless all weekend, and we've really had to do very little other than just work on the clutch a little bit on the car. And I guess if it's your day, it's your day. And if good Lord wants you to win, you'll win the race. That's the way we look at it. And we're working real hard at it. We've been in the last couple of finals at the last 2 races, and we want to win this one bad.
So who will Nickens face? Will it be Joey Heffernan in the near lane or George Sapinski in the far lane, the other half of the semifinal round in competition eliminator?
And there is Heffernan's most unusual Opel GT, circa 1969. Not much left on that car that ever came from Germany, with a huge hood scoop as he smokes the tires, using the line lock to lock up the front wheels electrically so he can get them spinning real hard.
The 21-year-old Heffernan qualified second quick in the Buick-powered Opel GT. He faces George Supinski, who is the 11th qualifier in his Beretta. Now, both cars are B Econo altered. They have the same index, so there will be no handicap dialed into the tree. They will leave at the same time.
And, of course, in competition eliminator, there's no breakout either. So this could set up to be a driver's race, except that Heffernan has had such superior performance throughout eliminations. You got to give him the A. And here is Heffernan in the near lane. I'll tell you what, Sapinski is giving him one heck of a race, but Heffernan has lots of muscle on the big end, and he will go to the final round with an elapsed time of 8:37 and a speed of 158 miles per hour. So the finals are now set in competition eliminator. It will be Joey Heffernan in the Opel GT against David Nickens, but Nickens ran further under the index than Heffernan, and that will determine lane choice for the final. And here, already preparing for the final, is Frank Manzo. They'll do a compression check on these engines, look very closely at the spark plugs. They don't usually take them apart unless there's some indication that something internally is seriously wrong. Here you see them adjusting the valve and just getting everything set and kind of massaged. Let's go down to Don Garlits at the end.
Joe, I guess you're proud of this little toy here.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I'll tell you, it's a cute little thing. It's little bitty. Is it hard to drive?
It's like a Cadillac. It really is. It goes straight as an arrow.
You're kidding me.
Nah, it handles great.
How about the start back there? Did you get a good start? Did you get him out of the gate?
I believe so. I really couldn't tell. I was concentrating too much on the light, my own light, trying to get the reaction time.
You guys really start close together anyway. There's nobody that gets great big jumps, is there?
Well, that was a heads up. We run the same class, and we run off the same index, so both of us left at the same time. So I hit second gear. I looked over, he was a little behind me. I'm like, yeah, this is great.
Okay, you're in the fire.
Garlits.
So the final round in comp is now set. We'll be back with the semifinals in Super Comp right after this.
Sports. Down from the falls near Quebec City, the Châtelet River becomes a far more peaceful body of water. A place where tourists and locals, for that matter, can go and kind of get their thoughts together. Well, I'll tell you, the drag racing fans at Saint-Pie have got their thoughts together. They're ready for the semifinals in Super Comp Eliminator. I'm Steve Evans, along with Paul Page and Don Garlits. Paul?
And Joe Jackson performs his burnout as he is ready to face Paul Donahue.
And, of course, as we've discussed earlier in the show, driving is everything in this category. And one young man who's been doing an excellent job of it is Joe Jackson, Mansfield, Ohio. He qualified 21st, and he's in the semis. Now, his opponent, Paul Donahue from Saugus, Massachusetts, qualified in the 11th spot. But the difference between 11 and 21 in this category could be 1 or 2 100ths of a second.
So Donahue leaps forward, ready to stage as he is ready to face Joe Jackson. And again, how you leave is absolutely critical in this particular category. Looking at the tree and reading it right. They're off. They're running neither one with particularly a good start.
Joe Jackson was sound asleep. I wonder if something went wrong. But here he comes. Joe Jackson from behind. 896, 126 miles per hour to a 910 by Paul Donahue. That was one strange Super Comp race. Usually, if you're as late as Joe Jackson was in the near lane, you don't have a prayer.
You know, I think both of them were actually caught by surprise. They had just rolled up, and it was a fairly quick light because neither one had a particularly great reaction time, but it was Jackson that made the most out of it. Jackson ran an 896 at 126 miles an hour. So Jackson now moves into the final round where he will face Harry Dixon because Dixon has a bye run.
Oh, you had an 896.
896? Okay. I got one of the toughest people in the country in the final, so we'll just have to see what happens from here. Peanut Dixon, he ain't no slouch.
We're waiting right here for him to see who's going to be.
Run. He's got a bye run this round, so he run me in the finals. So it'll be me and him, boy. It's going to be a barn burner. I think I can get him.
Good, good.
Next shot.
So back at the starting line, it's Harry Dixon. He'll face this man. And by the way, neither Joe Jackson or Harry Dixon has ever been to a final round. And I would suspect that's going through Dixon's mind as well at the moment. He doesn't want to do anything that will damage this dragster. There he is, Harry Dixon. He qualified 7th coming into this meet. He hails out of Homestead, Florida. And as you can see, look at this. He's not going to do anything to cause any problems for himself going into that final round.
Absolutely right. Lane choice is not important with these cars. They don't have that much horsepower. Consistency is important. He doesn't want to put another run on those tires, another run on that automatic transmission. He wants to come back and fire the perfect 890 in the final round.
The run is so slow, you don't even want to run the timers on this, but a 19.42 at 54 miles an hour through the trap. So now the stage is set for the final round in Super Comp. It will be Harry Peanut Dixon facing Joe Jackson. Jackson will have the lane choice, though that does not particularly matter. Neither man has ever been to a final round. We'll be back with more from Saint-Pie, Quebec, Canada in just a moment.
The finals remain in lane GrandNationals Sportsman. Let's go to the far end where Don Garlits is with Peanut Dixon.
Well, it looks like you're just cruising down here for sodies.
That's what it's for, I hope. I don't usually run my car out on the buy run. It's a habit I got into doing. Why break my parts?
I used to do that a lot.
I know. Feels great to be here.
Well, you're in the final. You got a good, tough competitor over there, so I guess we're going to have a real good race. The spectators ought to enjoy it.
Yeah, they should. I hope it's a good one. Thank you.
So as Dixon is ready for his final round coming up, earlier we had the finals in some of the other sportsman categories. First, in Super Gas, Michael Lavoie from Canada versus Pat Wasson from Champaign, Illinois.
Now, Super Gas is exactly like Super Comp, except it's for full-bodied cars, and the index, or that breakup factor, is a bit slower. Instead of 890, it's a 990, and you find it's a very eclectic category. You'll find every kind of car imaginable here. Again, it's just personal taste and being able to run 990, and you saw the great start there that Michael Lavoie enjoyed in the far lane, and that was the difference. He defeated Pat Watson a 994 to a 991 the whole shot, making the difference as it so often does in Super Comp and Super Gas. You saw the celebration there. Well, they were just getting underway. The fans hooting and hollering because Michael Lavoie was the only Canadian to win a title here today. All right, earlier today also was the stock eliminator final. As you can see, these truly are stock cars. In fact, a pair of station wagons. The rules are very restrictive as to modifications they can make. They can have the exhaust headers and slick tires and a few little things under the hood, but not much. It was John Wojciechowski versus Bob Vogel in the stock eliminator final. The white car in the near lane had to wait as the handicap advantage went to Vogel. This is much like competition eliminator. Index is established for a whole bunch of classes under one umbrella, and trying to come from behind Wojciechowski was just a little bit short. Vogel won it at 1378, 92 miles an hour. The stock eliminator champion here at Lake Grand National Sportsman. Let's also recap the Super Stock final. Super Stock, the rules more liberal, the car is far more faster. Again, it's the handicap system with a breakout on indexes.
It was Bob Herdline from Whiteboro, New York in his 68 Camaro facing Dave Bortman from Fruitport, Michigan.
Dave Bortman in the near lane in is a hired gun, a many-time champion, in fact, a world champion. Bob Hartline in the far lane knew that Bortman was a tough customer, not just by his press credentials, but also by his elapsed times as compared to the index throughout the event. So the man in the far lane, well, he thought he had absolutely nothing to lose. If he was going to win here today, he had to cut a good light, and he cut, well, a little too good. You saw the front wheels out of the beam before the green light came on and bypassed green and went to red, and Dave Bortman has another notch in his gun. At 10.74 seconds, 123 miles per hour. Well, I'll tell you, Bortman, one of the winningest Superstock drivers in the history of the sport.
Some of the great sportsman action from just a little bit earlier in the day, but now we're ready for the comp final. It is David Nickens as he's ready to face Joey Heffernan.
You know, Paul, it almost doesn't look fair. Did you notice that? The Opel GT rolled out. It looked like a little toy alongside David Nickens' Oldsmobile Forenza.
Of course, Big Daddy referred to it just that way earlier, but as we have seen, he's put many a strong competitor away with that little toy Opel GT. Of course, David Nickens has put away his share in his time as well. Heffernan, a second-generation driver, and in that little toy, as you call it, there's a 281 cubic inch Buick V8 engine.
Let's see how this race sets up. David Nickens in F-Gas. The NHRA has assigned an index of 940. Joey Heffernan, B economy older, the good deal lighter car. 890 is the index, so it's exactly a half a second head start for that man from Texas, David Nickens. That's exactly one light on the Christmas tree.
So Heffernan in the near lane will leave last. He has to sit, study the trees on the far lane. Nickens is already underway. Now away goes Heffernan. Heffernan with that Opel powered by a Buick playing catch-up. He's charging on him coming to the line, but no. Nickens gets the job done, and boy, are they happy about it. Nickens takes advantage of the handicap given to Heffernan and goes on to win with an 891, 151 miles an hour.
The reaction times were almost identical. I doubt that we can tell in this replay. No, they look just exactly the same. And you know, Nickens had to have seen or at least heard Heffernan coming because the little Opel was moving like a freight train down the near lane. I thought for a minute that maybe he was going to catch it. He had so much momentum, but he just came up a bumper short. Don Garlits is with your winner.
Great job, Dave.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Don. I'll tell you, the car's been the picture of consistency all day long. We have done nothing but work on the clutch. We've stayed right on the number and worked on the driving all day long, and we just couldn't ask for it to perform any better. The car's done exactly what we've asked of it every time. It's been exactly within 160 foot out of 6 runs, and you just can't ask for much more than that. And like I said the last time, when the good Lord says it's your day, it's your day. And if you just hang in there and do your job, it'll be there. And I'd like to say thanks to all the guys at the shop for helping us out, make the horsepower that we've got right here. And Castrol GTX and Oldsmobile have done just a wonderful job, Lone Star Racing, and we just couldn't be any happier. Thanks, Don.
Well, it's been fun. I've enjoyed it down here, believe me.
It has been exciting. I'll tell you what, we're glad to see you down here doing this, too. You're probably the most knowledgeable man in racing right today, and I'll tell you, we're glad to see you down here covering us guys. Here's a crew right here. They're happy, too.
So the celebration begins for David Nickens. The final round in Super Comp and Top Alcohol Funny Car coming up next.
Le GrandNationals Sportsman here at Saint-Air International Drag Strip in Saint-Pie, Quebec, Canada, is rapidly drawing to a close. I'm Steve Evans along with Paul Page and Don Garlits. And Paul, only 2 races remain, and this is the first of them.
Set, ready to go now, and again, unlike the professional categories that we see so often, not a lot of extra crew or extra equipment, as Harry Dixon in the near lane and Joe Jackson in the far lane are ready for the final round in Super Comp.
And they have been the best 2 drivers today. The machines, in many cases, very close and potentially equal, really. It's the drivers that have made the difference. A little Peanut Dixon, he's had the best reaction times of anybody all day long.
And of course, the adrenaline has to be flowing just a little bit more in the veins of both men, because neither one of these men have ever made it to a final round. So personally, it's extremely important for both of them.
Okay, let's watch and see if we can detect any kind of a starting line advantage for either driver. Peanut Dixon in the near lane, Jackson in the far lane. It is an advantage, yes, for Jackson by 3/100ths of a second. Jackson was off the mark first, and that usually makes the difference, but not today. Jackson's car fell off a bit in performance. It is Dixon winning it at 891, 142 miles an hour, to an 893 at 142 miles per hour. Wow.
A turnaround on the drag strip. Now watch Jackson. He's over in the far lane, and he reacts faster when the green light comes on. But then Dixon, with a machine that's really performing magnificently at the 1/8 of a mile mark, comes on with more turns, more power, and Peanut Dixon goes on for the win.
Oh, you're the winner.
Oh, it's great. Thank you, Don. Appreciate it, man. What a race.
Wasn't driving it for no Coke that time.
No, not no soda that time. This feels great. I just want to thank my dad. He makes all this possible.
Is that right?
Yeah. Him and Steve Cohen, who's my best friend, been helping me through it all. This is great.
It's great to have friends like that, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It really is. Wonderful.
No matter how many big races that young man goes on to win, he'll always remember that moment with Big Daddy Don Garlits. 2 races to go. The 2 best supercharged alcohol funny cars on the grounds today. Peter Gallen and Frank Manzo. Now, there's no secret about it, Paul Page. Peter Gallen has had an awful lot of luck in that poverty-stricken automobile.
No question about it. He got here to the final round not with just one, but with 2 different bye runs, cars that failed and were not able to answer the light. So he's got a car that, from another point of view, is relatively fresh, though he poured the power on both those runs. He faces a great veteran in Frank Manzo, who has had one magnificent day. Manzo sits in the near lane, Gallen over in the far lane.
Well, Manzo has literally dominated the competition as far as elapsed times are concerned. He has been low qualifier, low ET of every round. But you see that man, Peter Gallen, once he pumped that brake up, he's pumping himself up, too. He even goes for the dry burnout. In fact, both of them do. That's kind of a, well, it gives them an indication of how the starting line is. Has it changed any? You don't often see alcohol funny cars do that kind of dry burnout. These guys are intense and ready.
Manzo is in the near lane. Peter Gallant thought that that would be the lane that Manzo would choose, and in fact it's one that he's been satisfied with throughout most of the day. Remember, too, that Manzo has been dominant as a factor at this particular track with 3 previous Nationals wins.
But anything can happen in this track racing sport has been demonstrated to us today. Here is Manzo. He looks over to make sure that Peter Gallant is within staging proximity. Neither one wants to really move up first. Every man would kind of like to stage last if he can, or at least as close to the other driver as is humanly possible, so that nobody sits there with the RPMs up any longer than they absolutely have to. Peter Gallant, far lane, holding onto that brake, revving up the edge of the car, wanting to leave. He is holding it there. Frank Manzo on the near line from New Jersey. The moment is at hand, and off the mark third. Peter Gallant has a tremendous hole shot. Manzo is in big trouble. Oh, whoa, he got him. Absolutely unbelievable. Gallant, for all rights and reason, really should have won that race. He came away well ahead of Manzo. Gallant cut an almost perfect light, and more importantly, 11/100ths faster than Manzo. But Manzo really poured on the power at the top end, turned a 6:14, which, by the way, is a personal best for Manzo, and it was necessary for him to win here in Canada. So as a happy and victorious crew heads down the drag strip, let's go to Don.
6:14, 2:26. Congratulations.
We needed every bit of it to pass Peter Gallant. You did a heck of a job on a tree. Treated me pretty good. I'd like to thank my sponsors, TRW, Keystone Automotive, Key Auto Parts, Motorcraft, my crew, John, my wife, Michelle, and everybody else who helped me for a great weekend. Thank you.
You put on a real show, Frank, and we've enjoyed it down here, and I'm sure the spectators have too.
Well, we're just one of them weekends when it's right, it's right.
You bet. You can always tell. You kind of felt that way at the beginning of the day, didn't you?
No, not really. I never feel that way. I'm never overconfident. I just try and do better every round if I could.
Don't sometimes you get a good feeling that, you know, things are going smooth, the motor's running good?
I do, and usually I go out first round.
Oh, my goodness. Well, congratulations again from all of us here at Diamond P, and we've enjoyed it.
Thank you very much.
For Frank Manzo, it's a 4th victory here in Canada. It's been a great day with the Sportsman. Congratulations to all our winners. This is Paul Page for Steve Evans and Don Garlits, as we say so long from Santa Air in Canada.
The executive producer for American Sports Cavalcade is Harvey M. Palish. Produced and directed by John B. Mullen. Promotional consideration provided for and a fee paid by the Style Auto World Championship Team, the nation's premier source of fast lane fashions. Style Auto, the champion's choice for the style of your life.